Having the ability to train to failure is extremely important if you want to build a good physique because you need to get at least very close to failure on pretty much every working set you do. You need to get pretty close to failure at least, or go to total failure if you want to really make significant progress. But training for failure is a lot more complicated than I actually think. And even I, now, even though I've been obsessing with it for a while, I'm still working on it. I'm still improving on it. And there are still some exercises where I'm actually thinking, yeah, I need to get better. I need to train even harder on them. Even though my training philosophy is that I train to fail on every set. I only do 2 sets per exercises, around 10 to a maximum of 12 sets per session. And still, I struggle with this. I still have a few exercises where it's like, yeah, I'm training hard, but I could train even harder. And I've only been realizing it now. So for a lot of people that think that they're actually training close to failure, it's possible and it's actually likely that you're not. It's actually likely that you think that you're training hard, but you're actually not, and you could push a lot harder. Because for me, for a while and even recently, on some exercises, I would think I would fail and think that I actually failed, even though I actually stopped short. And I could, if I actually pushed even harder, if I actually gave it my all, I could have completed a certain rep. I could have completed a rep, but I kind of let the weight down and kind of touch myself. Yeah, I failed. Even though I'm someone who's actually very strong mentally, I still sometimes find myself doing it. On certain exercises, for example, bicep curls. Yesterday I did bicep curls. In the first set, the last rep didn't really look that difficult. I didn't really slow down the concentric on the last rep that I did of bicep curls on my first set. The concentric of the last rep wasn't really that slow. But then on the second set, I was like, yeah, I think I didn't take the first set to failure. So what I did is I actually unlocked a new level. And I did the last 2 reps looked very, very slow. So that's when I realized, yo, okay, bicep curl is an exercise where I wasn't necessarily going to failure. Another one could be, where's another exercise where I really wasn't really going to failure? Cable lateral raises. So 2 days ago, Monday, I did cable lateral raises. And usually I thought I was going to failure, but I usually was leaving like 2 reps in the tank. 2 reps in the tank when I really think about it. Most of the time I could have done 2 more reps. And Monday I actually pushed it and I actually did the last 2 reps I had. I gave it my all. And it was super painful but super fun. And I discovered, yo, most of the time I could actually do a lot more reps on cable lateral raises. Same thing with tricep push down, single arm tricep push down. So there are a few exercises where I was actually already going to failure on, but other exercises where I wasn't. Well, honestly wasn't. And even today, I'm going to train legs today, and there are there's one exercise where I actually suspect that I'm actually not really going to failure on. Zombie squat. Zombie squat is the first exercise I do on my leg days. It's basically a front squat but without your hands. You basically put the bar on your shoulders like this, and you have your hands in front like this. And I've noticed that my last few reps on zombie squat aren't really that slow. The concentric on them don't really slow down that much. So I'm gonna see, maybe it's possible that I'm already going to fail it because there are certain exercises where the concentric, even on the last rep, the concentric doesn't slow down like a lot. But on most exercises, it actually should be a lot slower than the first rep. On certain exercises, it slows down less than others. The last rep on, let me take an example. Let me think of an example because on certain exercises, it's a lot slower than on others. Mm, yeah, I can't really think of one. But on pretty much every exercise, the last rep, if you go into failure, the last rep should be a lot slower. The concentric, so the speed at which you move the weight up should be a lot slower than on the first rep. And if that doesn't happen, then you probably have a lot more in tank. So the speed at which you perform the last two reps is a great indicator of the intensity you train at. The speed at which the the amount of slowing down you notice in the concentric of your last few reps. And intentionally, not intentionally, unintentionally, the concentric slowing down. The more it happens, the higher the intensity is. So in certain exercises like bicep curls, your last rep, the concentric of your last rep should look extreme. It should be extremely slow, very very slow. Dips, same thing. And if that doesn't happen, it's a great indicator, something that's telling you, yo, I'm probably not training hard enough for this exercise. If the speed at which you move the weight up is the same on the first rep, on the last rep is the same on the first rep. Oh, it's very similar. So, and something that I do that greatly helps me, just want to give you a practical tip that you can actually follow to really increase the intensity at which you train. To really make sure, okay, you can really learn the skill of training to failure. First, see training to failure as a skill. See it as a skill that you can constantly improve at. Don't just see it as something that you can just do or not do. See it as something you can constantly keep improving at it. Every session, you get a little bit better. Every session, you get a little bit better. And something that I do the thing that helped me the most with training to failure is simply watching advanced lifters going to failure on a certain exercise that I want to do. I just look at a certain exercise that I like to do, that I perform in my own training routine. And I just go research, look at workouts of advanced lifters that have a lot of experience going to failure on the exercise. And I really analyze the sets. And I really look at how much is the struggle on the last few reps and how slow the concentric on the last few reps of their sets of failure on a certain exercise are. And that helps me a lot because I'm just like, yeah, if my last rep doesn't look that slow, then I'm probably not training to failure. I just look at how the technique, their technique just stays intact and just stays the same, even though it's obvious that they're struggling on that set. Still, the technique looks pretty much the same on the first rep. So even though you're training hard, even though your concentric is slowing down, your technique should stay pretty much the same on the first rep. It shouldn't change. Training to failure is not an excuse for your form to go to shit. It's not an excuse. You should still use good form. But that's really what helped me the most, and that's what's still helping me right now. Something I'm doing very frequently. I'm just looking at workouts of people just performing. I just look at advanced lifters, people that have more experience than me, and that have been training to failure for a while, and I really have the skill, really mastered the skill of training to failure. And I just look at videos of them taking this a certain exercise that I like to perform and taking it to failure. And I just look at how much their concentric slows down and how painful it actually looks to them. And that really helps me. But just remember that it sometimes varies. Some exercises, the last rep is going to look very, very slow. And some exercises is going to look a little bit faster, but it still has to slow down. If it isn't any slower in comparison to the first rep, then there's probably a problem. And you need to work on it. You need to work on it. But really, no. Just be aware that you can push a lot harder than you actually most likely do on most exercises. That's what I realized. I was kind of stopping short, but not even realizing it. It wasn't even a conscious thing. It was really unconscious. Like on bicep curls, I was trying, and when I would kind of hit, you sometimes hit a point where you're kind of stuck and you just give up there. But if you just push 1 millisecond longer on that sweet spot, on that point where you were stuck, you could have completed the rep. That's the thing. So even sometimes when you're pushing up, you're performing the concentric of a movement, and you hit that spot when you're kind of stuck, don't just give up. Still try to kind of push through it. A lot of times you could have completed another 2 reps, but it's just that you gave up because you felt kind of stuck in a certain part of the concentric. Because it's actually normal that it slows down. It's actually good. If it's that slow, that you sometimes even are stuck for a few milliseconds or a second, a certain part of the concentric, it actually means that you're actually training really hard. So don't just give up there. Push through it. So yeah, hope you found this video valuable. If you're interested in my fitness coaching, then you can click the first link in the description. And yeah, don't run from discomfort. Chase it.